In this 5x5 Coffee Bites, I want to talk about work smart strategies. Now, everybody has been talking about VUCA times and what kind of conditions prevail and all. So we are all very familiar with what kind of situations prevail in these kind of markets. But in this 5x5 Coffee Bites, I want to talk about what kind of work smart strategies organization need to adopt to be able to thrive in this chaos and come out emerging successful. What happens in the market when challenges are very, very unusual and peculiar, like the challenges that they have never faced before, when market movements are unprecedented, like the ones that people have never seen before, when the strategies that you tend to adopt may be the same strategies which helped you to succeed in the past, but may now not be succeeding, and therefore you're wondering what kind of strategies you need to have. When the tools that you have used in the past refuse to give you the kind of results that you are trying to look when you try to use them again, that's the time that organizations need to think, how do we become smart and how do we adopt work smart practices to be able to thrive in such markets and give results. So the summary of this whole theme is very simple. Smart organizations have got very smart and agile leaders who drive the smart people who work in these organizations to develop work smart strategies so that they evolve, succeeding in the ensuing confusion that prevails in these kind of markets. Why do they need to do that? And that's the most likely question people would want to ask. And the answer is very simple. Number one is that in these kind of environments, there is no space and scope for rigidity. People have to learn to become very flexible. People have got to learn to be very adaptive, and therefore to be able to do that, people and leaders will have to learn to develop this kind of flexibility as part of their work smart strategy. So number one is, why do they need it? Because people otherwise who are rigid, if they continue their rigidity, they will tend to fail in these kind of markets. There are unusual kinds of pressures because your business results are not happening, your numbers are not stacking up, your working capital is not moving, customers are not buying despite of having need. It creates an unusual kind of pressure on the people in the organization to give results, and this in return creates a lot of stress and tension. Insecurity is bound to prevail in this kind of situation. Work smart organizations therefore have work smart strategies to cope with these kind of situations, which help them to handle the pressures, the unusual tensions, and the inordinate kind of periods of time when they are not able to give the business results that they are looking forward to do. That is one of the reasons why organizations need to adopt work smart strategies. People tend to be not so resilient because their initiatives, efforts, and energies don't give them the results, which is one of the other reasons why people tend to give up loyalties, leave jobs, try to start looking for jobs outside, don't have the desire to wait even a little longer in the company and try one more time to try and come out of it. As a result of this, there is a tumultuous situation prevailing in the organization. Thus, organizations really need work smart strategies to be able to come out of it. And of course, under this kind of situation, health and wellness of people is impacted. People tend to have nervous breakdowns. People tend to get cardiac arrests and around that. So unless and until organization readies itself to be able to cope with this kind of prevailing condition, their organizations may not be able to succeed. Work smart strategies, therefore, is the only answer for an organization to adopt to be able to thrive in this kind of markets. Now the question is, what are those 5 work smart strategies that organizations need to plan and put in place? Number one, organizations need to start practicing organizational self-awareness. What does that mean? Effectively, it means that the organization and its leaders and its various people need to start speaking with people, start doing all kinds of surveys, start doing all kinds of town halls to try and understand, first of all, what exactly are the feelings that the people are going through, what are the pains and problems that they are facing and suffering. And imagine, say for example, we are hearing this kind of situation prevailing in Jet Airways today. The organization needs to to hear out the people, listen to them and find out what are their pains, what are their problems, what is the situation prevailing at their homes to be able to thrive. So therefore create a certain element of insight into their pains and thus be able to enthuse them and find out ways in which the people can be enthused only after listening to them. The second is the organization needs to develop what we call social skills, hyper-social skills. Good organizations have social skills, but around the time when adversity hits, they need to develop hyper-social skills. It means people need to be communicating with each other. First of all, when they are suffering from all kinds of stresses and pains and tensions, they can't afford to remain quiet. They need to learn to speak out their pains, and therefore facilitating platforms where people can come out and speak what they feel, speak out what their pain is one of the most important ways in which organizations can develop smart strategies. Idea is let people speak out their insecurities, let people learn how to cope with their conflicts rather than fighting conflicts and creating situations which are very tense, which is a very common sight you will feel and see in organizations when you go through the organizations which are going through these kind of situations. The third most important thing that organizations for work smart strategies need to do is to develop and foster a certain element of optimism. The moment the businesses don't give result, the moment there are pressures, organizations tend to become pessimistic. They tend to not believe their strategies, they tend to not believe their tools, they don't want to believe their leaders, they think that everything is wrong, and they start believing in the doomsday prophecy, thinking that the organization is going to collapse. That is the time organization needs to develop mechanisms of fostering a certain element of optimism in the organization, a certain element of confidence in the organization so that they are able to pull themselves out of this situation. The fourth is organizations need to, in this kind of situation, encourage flexibility and problem solving because there is no time for rigidity. This is the point of time when organizations, people, system, program, processes need to be flexible. Imagine when the markets are in this situation and organizations are going through these traumatic situations, would the organization still want to put in rigid policies, programs, practices, etc. when the people are going through these kind of traumatic situations? Certainly no is the answer. And the last that I would say is foster communications to support team working very effectively in these situations, and that's the best way in which organizations can thrive in these kind of chaotic situations with work smart strategies. Adopt work smart strategies, be a smart leader, drive your people effectively, and you will emerge winning in these kind of markets as well. Thank you.